And now, I'd like to introduce a man who needs no introduction. He is my friend, colleague, Academy parent, graduate, and receiver who scored the winning touchdown against Pius in '96. The one of the kindest people I've ever met, Mr. Peter Gloyd.
All right, thank you, Ms. Puente. And for the record, it was a double overtime victory versus Pius that day. Just wanted to make sure everybody knew that. Good morning, everyone. I appreciate this opportunity to be here with you all on this momentous occasion. We encounter narratives every day about the world, about other people, and about ourselves. Sometimes those narratives about ourselves can be negative, and they can shape and even limit what we believe, how we see ourselves, and what we think is possible. So it's important that we intentionally reinforce constructive narratives, affirmations that remind us of what is true and how much we have to offer. We did this last year in divisions and smaller groups. So today we get the chance to do this all together as one school community. So let's see how loud and proud we can be all together. Y'all ready? All right, let me hear everybody say, I'm important. That's right. Remember, this school and all the people here, everybody's here for you, and this is all for you, right? These people who teach you, support you, challenge you, and care for you are invested in you because you are worth it. Let me hear everybody say, I'm unique. All right. There has never been and will never be another you. Only you can do you the way you do. Let's hear, I am powerful. You know it. You have tremendous power inside and out, physically and mentally. Your combination of experiences, beliefs, talents, and passions give you immense strength. Next, let me hear you say, I am learning. All right, I approach every experience as an opportunity to learn and grow. And remember, we're all learning. It's okay to make mistakes. Give yourself and others grace. Learn from those mistakes and keep growing. All right, let's make this last one super loud and super proud. Let me hear everybody say, I matter. That's right, because you are important, unique, and powerful, and because you're learning, you matter. Your presence matters. Your choices matter. Your words matter. The way you treat people matters. Remember, these aren't just words. They're reminders of the truth. You make a difference in this community simply by showing up as your authentic self. And when you show up, our community is better because you're a part of it. These affirmations aren't only about how we see ourselves, they're also reminders of how we should see one another. So let's treat each other accordingly with kindness, respect, compassion, and care. Look out for one another. Let's have a fantastic year together. Thank you.
Our student speaker today is an adventurous, highly disciplined student who rarely slows down. Beyond participating in an exchange program in Japan this summer, he completed the Pikes Peak 50K Ultra Trail Race and serves as a standout player on our championship caliber baseball team. He is active in speech and debate, a leader in the Classics Club, and the president of the 1012 Student Senate. Always looking towards the next big challenge, he is truly in it for the long run. Please join me in welcoming your Student Senate President, Joseph Rounds.
Yeah. Thank you, OJ. Thank you, OJ. Anyways, good International Left-Handers Day, everyone. It's a thing. So that's about 10% of people here. See, all the seniors here expected me to start with, so guys. But I have risen above such mediocrity. Anyways, guys. Today I'm going to share with you a story, a lie, and a truth, and try to retain your attention for about 4 minutes. So bear with me. First, the story. I hate running. But as I'm sure my friends know, I've been running ultramarathons for about a year now. My most recent race was about 3 weeks ago. It was 31 miles up and down the Evil Mountains in Colorado Springs. It was also the time I realized just how much I missed one of my closest friends. It was mile 24. I'm sprinting down the mountain trying to catch pace when out of the blue, My Way by Frank Sinatra comes blaring from my phone. Instantaneously, my memories of Vince filled my mind. All the times I'd show up outside his house unannounced and kidnap him away for the day. All the talks we'd have on the late night drives back, and even the most brain-dead debates over video games, songs, and anime. It all simultaneously came back to me. Especially the time when we were in our friend's car and Vince changed it up from his white girl playlist to, you guessed it, Frank Sinatra, and began singing to the best of his ability. Now where am I going with this? Vince doesn't get to sit before you all today. He doesn't get to wear these goofy fedoras or stress about finals or worry about where he's going to college. He was stripped of all the boring, mundane activities that we will be sitting here and complaining about. And while my story today is about Vince, my mind goes back to Salman. Both of them were stripped of these moments, and both of them taught us not to waste a single second we have. They are forever loved and forever remembered. Now, this brings me to the lie, all right? Don't worry, there's only 2/3 left to go. I know you guys' attention span is fried, so. Adults love telling us, enjoy school, because these are going to be the best years of your life. I'm sorry, but that's a lie. If middle school or high school at Albuquerque Academy ends up being the absolute peak of your existence, you are doing something terribly wrong, and I'm going to be living a very sad life. If you peak at 13 or 18, everything after this is just a long downhill slide. I mean, seriously, look around this room, right? We have future doctors, some engineers, a few CEOs, a lot of questionable life choices. High school is not your climax. It's just a launch pad for the future. Now the truth. The truth is this. On the days where you are completely burnt out, running on 3 hours of sleep, half a Red Bull, and just cannot find the willpower to care enough about AP Calc, if you really can't do it for yourself, you got to do it for someone else. Because, and I swear this isn't a paid promo, and God, I wish it was. I'm broke as a joke right now. Look at where we are right now. Look behind us. Look at those mountains. Do you know why this school exists? It's because decades ago, some extremely rich landowners, aka Albert and Ruth Sims, looked at 12,000 acres of prime mountain dirt and said, you know what? Let's give thousands of acres of this away to the city so children can learn algebra next to a mountain range. See, most wealthy people buy a yacht, maybe a ranch, or maybe even an island. These people looked at the Sandia wilderness and said, let them eat sage. That was bad. Thank God you guys laughed at that. Jesus. Okay. But you are literally standing on a multi-million-dollar gift from strangers who wanted you to have a buried piano behind you and some pretty great grass that's always only a few steps away. Maybe that's not exactly what they wanted, but you get the gist of it. And now think of your parents. They pay for you to attend one of the best schools in the country, not only the tuition, but they drive you to school every day, buy your school materials, clothes, and let's face it, pretty much everything you own. Not only that, but they didn't even question when you joined Car Club. Join Car Club. And think about people like Vince and Salman, people who remind us in the loudest, clearest way possible that tomorrow isn't guaranteed to any of us. Live life to its fullest, refuse to stay comfortable, and for the love of everything, do not peak in high school. Vince and Salman didn't get to see what comes next, but we do. So let's make sure it's worth it for all of us. Make it count. Thank you.
Every August, on the first day of school, we gather together for Convocation and to begin again. We welcome 205 new students and 20 new faculty members. We reconnect with friends, and we meet the opportunities and challenge of a new year with a sense of possibility. This morning, I want to begin with a question. Not a question with an easy answer. A question that scientists ask, historians ask, artists ask. A question that philosophers have been asking for thousands of years. And today, perhaps more than ever, it is a question that all of us must learn to ask. And the question is, how do we know? Now let's start with something simple. What do you see? How many of you see a rabbit? How many of you see a duck? Who is right? The answer is both. The image hasn't changed, only your perception has. And that is our first lesson. Seeing is not always the same as knowing. Two people can look at the same thing and experience something different. So we begin with the question that will guide us throughout the year. How do we know? How do we know our first impression is the whole story? How do we know we are seeing clearly? How do we know what we believe is true? The pursuit of truth does not begin with certainty. It begins with curiosity. It begins with the humility to ask, what might I be missing? More than 2,300 years ago, the philosopher Plato told us a story that still challenges us today. Imagine a group of people who have spent their entire lives inside a cave. They are chained in place facing a wall. Behind them is a fire. Between the fire and the prisoners are objects being carried back and forth. The prisoners see only the shadows projected on the wall. Those shadows are their reality, not because they are foolish and not because they are incapable of learning, but because the shadows are all they have ever known. Then one prisoner escapes. For the first time, he sees the world outside the cave. The sunlight hurts his eyes. He finds the new environment confusing. When told that the things around him are real, while the shadows were mere reflections, he could not believe it. The shadows appeared much clearer to him, but gradually his eyes adjust until he can look at reflections in the water, at objects directly, and finally the sun, whose light is the ultimate source of everything he has ever seen. The prisoner returns to the cave to share his discovery, but he's no longer used to the darkness, and he has a hard time seeing the shadows on the wall. The other prisoners think the journey has made him stupid and blind and violently resist any attempts to free them. Why? Because the remaining prisoners believe the shadows are real. It is what they know. Plato's story was not really about caves. It was about us. It was about the danger of confusing what is familiar with what is true. For centuries, Plato's cave was a philosophical thought experiment. Today, it feels remarkably current. Every day, we encounter thousands of images, ideas, opinions, and claims. We scroll through our own versions of shadows on glowing screens, and we have to decide what is real, what is reliable, what deserves our trust. And again, we return to the question, how do we know? To help us examine what we think we know, as a school community throughout this year, we'll examine the question of what is truth. But the truth is not a topic we will simply define. It is not a question we will answer once. Truth is something we will pursue. Throughout this year, we will explore what truth means and how we come to know it through a series of speakers, conversations, and experiences across many different fields. We will examine truth through philosophy, where thinkers have wrestled for centuries with the questions of reality, knowledge, and meaning. We'll examine truth through law, where evidence, testimony, interpretation, and the pursuit of justice depend on determining what actually happened. We will examine truth through photography and media, where images shape our understanding of the world and where context, perspective, and framing influence what we see. We'll examine truth through science, where curiosity, experimentation, and evidence allow us to move closer to understanding the world around us. And we'll examine truth through artificial intelligence, as new technologies change us to rethink authenticity, creativity, and the ways we determine what is real. Each of these fields approaches truth differently, but they all begin with the same question, how do we know? So let's consider this photograph. Look at this image. What do you know? You see a mother, you see worry, you see children seeking comfort, you see hardship, you see strength. This photograph became one of the most recognized images of the Great Depression. It captures something deeply true about the human experience, but there's more to this story. The woman's name was Florence Owens Thompson. Some of the details originally reported about her life were inaccurate. Years later, she said she never imagined that one moment would define her story for millions of people. The photograph did not change, but our understanding of it changed. So was the photograph true? Yes and no. It revealed an emotional truth. It revealed a historical truth, but it did not reveal the whole truth. A photograph can show us a moment. It cannot show us an entire life. Truth requires context. Truth requires questions. Truth requires us to ask, How do we know? Now, look at this photograph. You've probably seen it before. 11 workers eating lunch on a steel beam high above New York City. It feels like a spontaneous moment captured by a photographer at exactly the right time. But the image was arranged as part of a publicity campaign connected to Rockefeller Center. So, was it fake? No. The workers were real, the building was real, the height was real, the danger was real, but the moment was intentionally created. The photograph teaches us something important. Truth is not always about asking, did this happen? Sometimes the better question is, why was this shown to me this way? Every image has a frame, every frame has a choice, and every choice shapes what we see. The pursuit of truth requires us to look beyond the frame. And now we enter a new era. An era in which images can be created without a camera, voices can be created without a person speaking, videos can be created without an event ever happening. Artificial intelligence will bring extraordinary possibilities. It will help us discover, create, and solve problems in ways we cannot yet imagine. But it will require something from us: discernment, judgment, curiosity, the ability to pause and ask, is this true? And how do I know? We often think we know, but we don't. So look at these two images. Which one was generated by AI? How do you know? That's the one generated by AI. What about these two images of Mount Fuji? Which one is AI generated? Oh, I hear a lot of different answers. Click it. Like I said, we often think we know, but we often don't. That is why school matters. At Albuquerque Academy, our goal is not simply to give you information. The world already has more information than any generation before us. Our goal is to develop habits of mind, to teach you how to ask better questions, to seek evidence, to listen to perspectives different from your own, to change your mind when the evidence requires it, to recognize that humility is not a weakness, it is a strength. Because the opposite of learning is not ignorance. The opposite of learning is certainty. The belief that we already know everything we already need to know. So this year, I hope we will be a community that stays curious, a community that seeks understanding before judgment, a community willing to say, I don't know yet. A community that keeps asking, how do we know? Because that question is where learning begins. It's where discovery begins, and it's where the pursuit of truth begins. My hope is that we are a community that loves the truth more than being right. Happy 71st, Academy. It's the year of the Charger. Welcome to the new school year.